Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Free Ride. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. You're about to see my Allegro 1-minute overview and final thoughts. This is designed to see if this game warrants more of your time. If it does, just keep watching because then you'll see my full intro overview and final thoughts. However, if you don't want to be spoiled anything and you want to skip right to the full review, use the time index below in YouTube. Free Ride is a streamlined train game where you're building routes between different cities in Europe, trying to visit as many different ones as possible. So over the course of the game, you're going to be trying to get from a city to another city. Turns are simple. You're building routes that become yours. You can move on those. You can also move on your opponents, but you'll need to pay them a coin, which essentially is 3 points at the end of the game every time you use one of those routes. And now anyone can use these for free, hence the name Free Ride, but it allowed me to get to my destination. And each time I've been to a destination the first time, they're 5 points apiece, so that just got me 10 points. You're also going to have plenty of other routes to pick from. 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, so you actually have 12 choices at a time to try to get to that starting city to start your next route. And as the game goes on, you'll be working on 2 routes at the same time, and towards the end of the game, you'll even be able to move even further. And so you're trying to find the right way to get to the right cities, maybe using other players' tracks, maybe not, depending on the cost and how many turns it will take you, and trying to go to as many different cities as possible because those are worth the most points. Free Ride has easy, simple mechanisms, but tons of depth. You get to own your own routes and make people pay you for those, or vice versa. You have a lot of flexibility in the types of route choices and a clever way to randomize it so that every game has different routes. You're trying to spend extra turns to go around or pay money to use it. A lot of tough choices here. You're using others' routes, then they become free rides for everyone else. You might wait for someone else to do that. Less points for duplicate cities. You're trying to be efficient, but go to as many cities as possible. Great game arc, how it works for the 3 different phases. On the negative side of things, looking for the routes is really hard without putting dice or cubes out there, as I'll show in the full overview. I wish they had figured out a way to do that. The game's not enjoyable without making it easier to see those, but the game is amazing. It's a little long for what it is, with more than 2 players with all the cards in, but it's fantastic. It got my 2nd best strategy game of the year, and it's a lot of fun. That is Free Ride, and it got a Saxophone Serenade. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. We're gonna be on a train, and we're going to be going all around Europe, and we're gonna be trying to go to as many different cities as possible, but we're trying to take as many free rides as possible. Today we're talking about Free Ride. This is Friedemann Friese's newest design, brought to us by 2F Spiele in Europe, and Rio Grande Games is bringing it to North America here early in 2022. Let me show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. In Free Ride, you're going to be building train routes and moving your train throughout different cities in Europe. You're going to be starting in one city and going to another city, and you're going to be trying to continually do this, finding the most efficient routes, visiting as many different cities as possible. Now here's what the board looks like set up for about 3 players, and through a drafting procedure, each player will begin in a specific starting city. For example, if I'm purple, I'm actually starting in Barcelona, and I'm trying to get to Köln. And so that route's from here, and I'm going to be going to here. I might go through here, I might go up this way, and things like that. Turns are very simple in this game. Players will start with a certain amount of tracks depending on the amount of players. On your turn, you can have 2 build points to build tracks, or you can move your train through 2 cities that you have connections through or that you can connect through. So let's go over that. So if I want to build track for 2 points of building, each of the normal tracks like this is just 1 point of building. So I can build it like this, that's 2 points. Now, you don't have to finish it, but first of all, when you build a new track, it's yours. And you put this little token on it to show everyone this, you own this. Now, because you haven't finished this, you just turn this sideways. Next time you build, you have to build and try to finish this before you can build somewhere else. Because I'm gonna be trying to go up this way. Now let's say the yellow player is actually trying to get over here to Wien, but instead of just going straight over here, they decide to go up and over. 2 build points, one here, one here. It's a single track, so they own both of those. And we'll talk about why they might be doing this in just a moment, but let's say it just comes back to us. And let's say that we've built for the next 2 points and we've sort of finished this route here. And let's say the next turn, the yellow player built there for their 2 points. Now, we can move up to 2 instead of building track. And this could be 1, moving right on this to the next city connected, as long as it's mine, or we'll go over what else you can do later, but let's say we go here. Now for my second movement, I can go here and use their track. Now, if I do that, this is the reason why they built this way, because they knew I was going to Cologne, and they knew I'm not going to want to go all the way around because it takes lots of time. So I can go there, and this is theirs. So I have to pay them a coin, and then this comes off, and now this route is government owned, and anybody can use it for free, hence the game name Free Ride. Now let's talk about this. Let's say this player ended up moving here, and then on my next turn I moved to Cologne because I wanted to, get this again. I'd have to pay him another 3 coins, and now that could be used from anyone. Okay, so we finished this, right? This would get put face down on a pile, like a score pile. But let's see, we have Barcelona and Cologne. So each of the cities at the end of the game that you've been to only once is worth 5 points apiece. So this is 10 points. You start with coins, and I mentioned that I have to spend 1 coin to use somebody else's track. Each of these are worth 3 points in the end. I've given that player 6 points. Between the two of us, it's a 12-point swing to use his 2 trains, and I got 10 points out of it. So this economy of when to use this, and how it's always, trying to figure out how many turns it's going to take to get me there. Is it worth it, the points to spend to do that, and this and that. So that's sort of the main decisions in the game. And now I have a spot open that I can try to take another route. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Now the third action you can do is you can get more track. You can get 5 new tracks once you run out. Now if you have 0 or 1 left, you can pay a coin to the supply and get 5 more, and you can build on the same turn. So you're either spending a whole turn and not spending any coins to get 5 track, or you're spending a coin to get 5 track and then being able to still place on that turn. Another thing to think about of the economy of the game, and is you really need to do that now. Now once you've started the game, there'll be 6 columns here, which actually equates out to 12 different possible routes that you could select for your next route. Because you can always start in one of the top cities and go from here to here, or you could start in the second city and go from here to here. So there's really 12 different choices here. So let's look at this one, Bremen to Minsk or Minsk to Istanbul. So I could go from Bremen to Minsk or Minsk to Istanbul. But I'm right here. I'm pretty close to Bremen, so it's pretty easy to go here. But that's going to take a little bit to go over there, but it's really close. And once you actually get to there, that's when you can pick up that route. So you don't get that route right away. You have to wait till you get to one of the starting cities, either here or here for that specific column. But remember, there's 12 different possible choices that you could choose to get to. Now let's look at Istanbul. One of the good things about going to some of these real coastal cities is that when you get there, if you're the first one there, you'll get 2 coins. And again, that's basically like 6 points. But getting to those cities are a little bit harder usually. Usually you have to take a ferry, which costs 2 build points just to place here. And speaking of build points, there's tunnels as well that have this little black outline, and those cost 2 build points as well. So you really have tons of choices. Again, 12 of them at any given time as to which route you're going to get. Remember, you don't want to duplicate any cities, and you're trying to make it most efficient as possible. Now, I want to point out one thing about this game that is a flaw, is that when you're looking at those 12 different options, there's nothing on these card cities that show a map or anything like that. And even if you're familiar with the geography really well, it's still really hard to look at this and see all 12 different routes. Which is the most efficient for you to go to? Which ones might you have to go through your opponents? Which ones could you go that maybe your opponent's going to be using your route? So what I like to do is I take these dice, I use dice from Las Vegas because they have lots of colors, and I put this here. So this is from Bremen to Minsk, 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, because those are the different possibilities. And you can quickly look at the board and go, oh, okay, I'm going to go from here to here or here to here. But you could see that there's going to be 6 of these different dice colors on the board when I do this, totally, because basically I'd put another gray die next to that column so I know this is that route. And so this allows you to see the routes way easier. The dice don't come with the game. I wish they would have done something to allow you to do this, because this is one of the major flaws in the game, and I want to show you how much easier it makes it once you're able to do that. Now those are the basics of the game. Now there's a whole stack of cards with 1s on them. Once that whole stack runs out, there'll be a whole stack of 2s. Now each city is in each stack once. So this might be a card that is already here, Odessa and Odessa. And this means that, hey, if you end up going to Odessa twice during the game, instead of getting 5 points for both of these, you get 5 points for the first time you were there, but 2 points if you go there again. So it's less efficient, and you don't get as many points as going to the same city, although it's more efficient to get there because your track's already there, but you actually get less. So you want to move around to as many closed cities as possible and having different cities. And after all the pile 2 runs out, there'll be pile 3s, and again, there's 1 of each city in each one. And once that pile ends, that's the end of the game. However, when you start that second pile, players will be able to add a second caboose, meaning they can have 2 routes going on at once. And this really gets thinky because you're trying to think, okay, this route's really long, but this one I can go to get to another one. So you have a second one. When you get to the third stack, You still have 2 routes, but now you can move 3 instead of just 2. So things amp up and go quicker towards the end of the game. You can get more accomplished. The game does have an interesting way it ends, where players can retire at the end of the game, and they can get points every time other players haven't retired and things like that. But once it ends, again, every city you've been to the first time is 5 points. Every time you've been there a second time, it's 2 points, and you get 3 points for each coins. Whoever the most points is the winner. All right, Free Ride. Friedemann Friese has a really good game on his hands here. I typically love a lot of his designs. He does something, he's never afraid to take a chance. This one seems pretty safe, but I love how this game has simple mechanism and lots of depth. I mean, how you play the game and how you score, you can teach in a couple of minutes. But the depth of your decisions and anguish between every single decision you made is awesome in this game. I love that you own your own routes. Boom, I'm putting my trains down there. I'm putting my little marker there. I own that. You want to use it? You're going to have to pay me a coin and vice versa. But once you do, it opens it up and anybody can use that for the free ride. I love how that concept works. It just makes really tough decisions. You're really trying to get in other people's ways on purpose, but at what cost? So much to think about. I love the flexibility in the route choices and a clever way to randomize it so that you don't just have a deck of cards where this city always goes to this city, like a Ticket to Ride, for example, which I love. But this is a very interesting way to randomize that and very flexible, 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, that's it. But you have tons of choices to do that. You're trying to decide, hey, spending extra turns. Do I do this to go around somebody or do I pay them a coin, giving them 3 points? Essentially making a 6-point swing between us because I'm giving them 3, I'm losing 3, they're gaining 3. Is it worth it? Or is it worth it for me to build around them? If so, how many turns is that going to take me to do that? And what's the cost per turn? That's what you're constantly thinking about in this game. Efficiency versus points. When do you just pay someone to do it? When do you not? When do you go around? When do you go to one of those coastal cities to get the extra coins? Is it worth the extra turns it takes to go down the ferries and do that? Lots of different things. The free ride in this game is also just such a clever thing because it's another thing that you're constantly weighing as to whether it's worth it or not to turn it a free ride. Maybe you can wait and let somebody else turn it into a free ride and you can use that route later because towards the end of the game, you're picking up 2 routes at a time and you could kind of like, you know what, I'll wait on this one. I'll go over here. Maybe that will open up a little bit later because it looks like this other player is coming down there. Just lots of player interaction in this game. I like that you get less points for duplicate cities. Because if you go the first time, 5 points, you go the second time, it's 2 points. I like that because if you have a route to select and you're close and you're like, well, I could just go there, but I'm only gonna get 2 points for it. I go a little bit further, I haven't been to that city yet, and that's gonna be worth more than double the points. I like that. The game has a great arc. You start really basic, but then as the second deck comes in, you can hold 2 routes, and then on the third phase of the game, you can move faster. It has a great arc, it moves fast towards the end. It's just a great game. The subtleties of this design also is really good, you know, when to use the ferries, when to use the tunnels, when to avoid them, how much it's going to cost to do that, do you go around them, all these edge cities, just so many good little decisions. With that being said, no game's perfect. This definitely has some flaws. One of them I showed in the overview, and I feel like this is the most glaring flaw this game has. I'm kind of surprised that this did not come up in playtesting about that you're looking at possibly 12 different routes of what you want to do next. And there's no maps on the card. I get it. They went with form over function. Like they wanted to aesthetically look nice as opposed to having the map with the 2 cities and a line drawn between them like Ticket to Ride does. I get that. Okay, that was a design choice. That's great. But if you're going to do that, you really should have made an easy way to see what the 12 routes possibilities are on the board. I showed you what I do with the dice. I'm not going to say this game is unplayable without doing that, but it's definitely unenjoyable without that. Your whole mind sphere is just concentrating on looking at the cards, looking at the board, looking at this card, looking at the board, looking at this card 12 times, looking at the opponents, looking at where these things line up. It just doesn't make the game fun. In fact, I would never play the game if I didn't put the dice out there. Luckily, it's an easy solution. Use cubes, use dice of different colors, whatever. Make it like this, but I am just very surprised that there wasn't something included with the game to do this. Like this didn't come up in playtesting. Granted, my geography in Europe isn't that great, but even if this was on a USA map, I'd still be having the same problem because you just want to be able to look at the map and look at, okay, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, no, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, no. And just look and be able to look at the puzzle and use your brain for the reasons that makes the game good and not for the reasons of like this minutia. I'm just really surprised. Again, it made the game not fun without it, but at least it's an easy solution. Also, the 2-player game has you take out a certain amount of cards, and it's a great length. With more than 2, 3, 4, 5, the game takes a little longer. The box is 55. It's more like 90 minutes, even if you all know what you're doing, because some of these decisions are just tough. And that's with using the dice that I was talking about, like speeding it up that way. I almost feel like the game would be better off a little shorter and have it be almost the length of it is if you take the cards off of the 2-player games, a little less. But that's just me. Some people just really like long games. I felt like you do the same thing over and over to this puzzle, you're building this efficiency, and you're ready for it to be over by the time it's over if you use all of the cards. But with that being said, I might be talking really negative about this here at the end, and there are some negative spots, but this game made my top strategy games of the year list. That's how much I like this. In fact, it was number 2. It almost was my strategy game of the year. It's how much I love the puzzle of this game. It's fantastic. If you like route building, if you like efficiency puzzles, if you like railroad games, but you want simple mechanisms that's easy to teach, you can get to the table often because of that, but yet offers tons of depth and player interaction off the charts, this is one you want to check out. And for those reasons, it's getting a Saxophone Serenade, which means I need to get rid of another game in my library to fit this one in. Box size is a thing, folks, and this one has one of those weird, the weird, longer power grid size boxes, so I gotta figure out what to get rid of. But I love this game so much, let's hit it for a Saxophone Serenade. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.